Ladies and gentlemen, could we please be upstanding and welcome Professor Dato Dr. Asma Ismail, Director General of Ministry of Higher Education, accompanied by Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Chairman Board of Directors of USIM, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, Chairman of Bank Rakyat Foundation, and Professor Dato Dr. Musa Ahmad, Vice Chancellor USIM, into the hall. Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Let us start this gathering with recitation of Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah.
Professor Dato Dr. Asma Ismail, Director General of Ministry of Higher Education, Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Chairman, Board of Directors of USIM, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, Chairman of Bank Rakyat Foundation, Professor Datuk Dr. Musa Ahmad, Vice Chancellor USIM, Haji Saleh Zhang Xuan, Nilai Infinity Capital Sdn Bhd, University Management of USIM, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam satu Malaysia.
We have come to a significant part of our conference as this is actually the official opening ceremony. As our guest of honor, Professor Dato Dr. Asma Ismail is only available today at this time, hence the official opening ceremony is happening now. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, may I invite our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dato Dr. Musa Ahmad, to deliver his welcoming remarks. Please welcome Dato.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Dengan nama Allah yang Maha Pengasih lagi Maha Penyayang, selawat dan salam ke atas junjungan baginda Rasulullah SAW. Professor Tan Sri Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail, Director General of Ministry of Higher Education, Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Chairman Board of Directors Universiti Islam Malaysia, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, Chairman of Bank Rakyat Foundations, Haji Saleh Zangguan, Nilai Infinity Capital Sdn Bhd, University Management of USIM, distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam satu Malaysia dan salam integrasi ilmu nakli dan akli. Alhamdulillah, all praise be to Allah for that with His blessing, we are gathered here today for the international conference on Kampung Mizan, Bank Rakyat. Yang berbahagia, Datuk Profesor Dr. Asma binti Ismail, the Director General Higher Education, Deputy Minister of Education Malaysia. For information, she was our, previously, the Vice Chancellor of USIM. So she's very familiar actually with this university. Also, Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Chairman Board of Directors Sains Malaysia, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, Chairman of Bank Rakyat Foundation, distinguished speakers and delegates, from local and foreign universities. Let me welcome all of you to this university, Universiti Islam Malaysia. If you can allow me to briefly introduce about this university. Universiti Islam Malaysia is an emerging Islamic university which is fully owned and funded by Malaysian government. Being the 12th public institution of higher learning, it aims to spearhead knowledge and be the leaders of the integration of Nakli and Akli knowledge. USIM offers a unique model to Islamic higher education, setting it apart from other Islamic universities worldwide. The integration of religious sciences together with the social and physical sciences in all its programs provides a comprehensive understanding of current global problems and offer a fresh alternative in solving them. At the moment, we are having more than 12,000 students, with 7% of them coming from 43 different countries. At the moment, we are offering more than 60 academic programs through our 9 different academic faculties. This conference has been initiated by Mizan Research Center, or also known as MRC. Mizan is an Arabic word that means balance. So MRC's needs is multidisciplinary, ranging from Islamic studies, art, social sciences, and science and technology. MRC focuses on preserving the mizan, or the balance, nature of human being and its environments as the center strive to inculcate correct understanding over the issues of development and the future. The Mizan initiative, from an overall perspective, touches on the fundamental aspects of human and environmental needs by approaching the crisis of disequilibrium that is experienced everywhere in this world. So Alhamdulillah, okay, for information, Dato' Asma. This morning, actually, we listened to a presentation given by Brother Ahmad Killer, entitled, "Is Kampung a Perfect Example of Mizan?" So actually, at the end of his presentation, he concluded okay, that Kampung is indeed a perfect example of Mizan. So we really enjoy the presentation given by Brother Ahmad Killer. Thank you very much. We also learned from Professor Gerard Boduker that eating the original nasi lemak is very healthy, but not the modified versions. Okay, the modified version of nasi lemak is something okay that you need really to think twice, you know, if you want to eat it. So he even predicted, you know, the 21st century nasi lemak. What's the nasi lemak looks like at the 21st century? It's a combination of a burger plus nasi lemak. I don't know, he quote the name just but I forgot it. So after listening to Professor Gerald, I feel like again to revisit, you know, the Malay ulam. That's why, you know, immediately after finish, you know, that morning session, okay, I went out, okay, searching for Malay ulam rather than having, you know, my lunch here. Apart from that, maybe we need to think, you know, if you want to eat, I know maybe we need to eat, you know, brown rice instead of the white rice, as what we have usually. And the other thing, you know, when you want to sip teh tarik, okay, make sure, okay, that you use palm sugar, all right? So partly that's something, you know, that we learned, you know, from, I think, this conference, okay, this morning. There are currently 3 projects running under the Mizan Research Center. Kampung Mizan Initiative, co-op leadership, and co-op leadership decision makings. It is an honor for us to do a collaboration with Bank Rakyat. Sukran jazilan, Dr. Abdul Rahman. Dr. Abdul Rahman, okay, for being kind enough, Bank Rakyat being our sponsor, you know, for this initiative. It is basically an honor for us to get to the collaboration with Bank Rakyat or the Kampung Mizan Initiative Research, which will give an impact on the society and societal and social level. Apart from this conference, the MRC is currently in the effort of publishing a few other books such as Masjid dan Pembangunan Komuniti Bandar dan Luar Bandar, Seimbang Itu Indah. Balance is beautiful. From the perspective of built environments and and also pembasmian kemiskinan perspektif maqasid syariah. So the kampung, as we know, is a glorious example of Mizan. The importance of capturing the knowledge contained in kampung from the older generation that grew up in the kampung environment cannot be overstated. A brief case study on Kampung Baru, Kampung Kerinci or Abdullah Hukum will also be conducted at a model of Kampung in Negeri Sembilan will be adopted from a study site. Okay, even these two also planning, you know, to develop USIM based on the Kampung, okay, Mizan, okay, initiative. Okay, if that become a reality, then maybe that's really going to make USIM, you know, very special and very unique compared to other universities. Okay, please pray that's going to, that's going to be materialized. So a major research program is needed, and the seeds for this have already been sown, you know, at USIM. So I would like to take this opportunity to thank the MRC team, particularly Tan Sri Zulkifli himself, for organizing this conference, and I would also like to thank our distinguished honorable guests for making their time to be with us today. And lastly, all the speakers, delegates, paper presenters, and participants who took part in this conference. It is with great pleasure I wish you all a warm welcome. May Allah bless you all. Thank you and terima kasih. Wish you to have a fruitful conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dato', for the welcoming remarks. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite Professor Dato' Dr. Asma Ismail to give a speech and officiate our conference. Please welcome Dato'.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, salam satu Malaysia. Terima kasih pengacara majlis. Yang bahagia, Profesor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Chairman, Board of Director for Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, Chairman for the Bank Rakyat Foundation, Professor Datuk Dr. Musa Ahmad, the Vice Chancellor, Universiti Sains Islam Malaysia, Haji Saleh from the Nilai Infinity Capital Sendirian Berhad, all of the USIM's top management team, distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. First and foremost, thank you to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His blessings. We are all gathered here today for the International Conference on Kampung Mizan USIM-BANK Rakyat. I also would like to state here that I'm glad to be back. My apologies for making this conference at this particular time where you should be having a nap probably. But I had a engagement with the Minister this morning on the Soaring Upwards version 2.0. So for all the people from USIM, you have missed a new version of Soaring Upwards that the Minister had conducted in the event to make public aware about Malaysian higher education and where we are going. But I'm always glad to be back to see what are the new developments that has taken up at USIM, and also be able to touch base with my former Vice Chancellor, Tan Sri Zul, and also my mentor, and to see how Tan Sri Zul, as you probably know by now, is the champion for sustainability. He's also the conscience of higher education, as I would say, and those of you who read his column would definitely know about the fact about, you know, whatever that we are not doing right, he probably will write it in the column and we will know, and the whole public will know about it. So I'm rather careful about what I'm doing also, because the next thing could be, you know, the Director General had screwed up. So, but anyway, that is one. I'm hoping that that would not come to that, because I think whatever we are doing now seems to be on the right track in order to move now higher education to be able to meet the challenges of the 21st century. So at some point in time, we have to break away from the normal way of doing things and in order to meet with these challenges, and therefore require transformation, not simply just continuous improvement. Kaizen used to be the word before when we were doing on quality management, but now it's about transformation, because if you just undergo continuous improvement, you may not be able to catch up with the rapid change that is now happening. But with that rapid change came also the need to make sure integrity, ethics, values are there in place, and that the essence, the fundamentals are not lost along the way as we strive to move towards meeting the needs of the 21st century. So, and this time around, I'm glad to see that there's the formation of the Mizan Research Center, USIM-BANK RAKYAT, that is now located at the Faculty of Leadership and Management, USIM. And this seems to be a good move now, because sometimes when you want to do something that is transformational, may not be accepted by everybody. You can't move everybody in the university, but there is a need to change. And I can see here a group of very dedicated participants who see that change is necessary, and that's important to have the nucleus for change. You can't change everybody, but there is a need to now have something being done so that now you see the essence of it. Sometimes I'm not sure about how, about the people in your country, but Malaysians can be very skeptical people, and sometimes you have to show by example that it can be done. And USIM happened to be a university that champions the integration of Nakli-Akli knowledge, meaning to say now that if you want to move forward, you have also to be constantly reminded with the teachings of Quran and Sunnah, and how now to move that forward. And that is essence, Quran and Sunnah teach about universal values, and that is the values that we would like to see. And how now do you now make the integration of Nakli-Akli become a reality, and be able to show that it can now be sustainable to meet the challenges of the 21st century. So that, that in essence is the challenge that USIM now has to face, because if it can create a new role model, then there are many more OIC countries that probably would follow suit to see that this can be done. So I congratulate USIM for wanting to do that, and it is a move. And I think Datuk Musa have mentioned about the Kampung Mizan regarding the values that you want to have to bring that back, because to me all that is fundamental. You got your fundamental right, you can move the university in the right way. You got your fundamentals wrong, then everything is not going in the right way. So this is the essence, Datuk Musa, that I think by the end of this conference with all the delegates here, you may be able now to see what are the new ideas that can be incorporated into the running of USIM, not only in the management but also in the curriculum. This is more important to me, to see that it can now be passed down to the younger generation. I mean, we can talk about it, we can say, oh yeah, I'm going to do all this intellectual discourse, but how do you implement that? That would be the question that we want to ask. How do you now translate that into a curriculum that is viable, that is going to make the students now be able to have high job employability? That will be the second challenge, all right? So, and I would like to say that I bid you welcome to Malaysia, to all the international participants, and to this particular conference to discuss the issues and future of the kampung. Yeah? And guided by the concept of Mizan that connotes the understanding of balance and justice, I think this conference is organized to exchange and discuss ideas related to balanced development and the future of kampung from multiple perspectives. And the kampung, which is a literal translation meaning word village, has been reminisced about in many ways, and returning to our primordial origins, a perfect bliss embodied in the ramifications of calm and subtle environment, clean and clear streams, fresh air with greenery of paddy fields, and a community that is closely tied together with their daily lives intertwined with each other. Now this sounds very nice, but if you notice, the new millennials now refuse to go back to the kampung for Hari Raya or for any of the festivities if the internet is not available. Do you realize that? Without the internet, the Z generation feels lost. And therefore, there is no need for them to go back to the kampung, because the kampung usually does not have internet line. So now even the kampung has got to have the internet line and the facilities, because communication suddenly becomes very, very important. And that in itself is the essence of the whole country, the whole world now moving into the 4th industrial revolution. Am I right? The 4th industrial revolution is the convergence of technology. It is going to be the convergence between human and machines. And that in essence is what your Samsung and your iPhone is all about. When you start doing this, do you realize it is the interface between human and machines? And that is already the beginning. And right now we are already into 3D printing of the heart, such that now you don't need to wait for a donor, because now you can 3D print the heart. And now with the advent of cybernetics, be able now to combine that and now make the heart available to any of those people who need donations. Yeah? So this is no longer a fiction. This is now reality. In Mexico, this is already happening and has to be transplanted into human beings or patients that definitely need the heart for to be donated to them. There's no need to wait anymore. So you can 3D print. So this is the kind of things that is now going on. But as we move in terms of technology, in terms of new findings, in terms of new way of living, how now this balance concept now starts to come in, because you can only go so much one way, but if you don't pull yourself back and actually make sure that things are balanced, we may not be going in the right direction. So this is where the conscience is very important, to make sure that you are balanced. Yeah? But unfortunately, while you talk about the kampung in a sustainable way, we also have kampung, or what we call urban villages, right? And the urban village now is not what I had just pictured just now, but in many parts they are seen as clusters of chaotic, disorganized dwellings, very marginalized, very much neglected, and mainly the bottom billion or the B40 is usually the inhabitants of these places. So how do you put the balance to all that? And even in Malaysia, you still have these areas that is still needing that particular change, right? So now how do we move that? So there are many kampung in, as I said, in the urban areas, and as the pace of urbanization grows geographically, the kampung that were located outside the city will now be embraced within it. And without a positive attitude towards history and the kampung, these spaces are deemed to be erased. Positive attitude by whom and from whom? Well, they are poor. They have to be living in these kind of places. The policy makers and the people who can afford to make that change have now got to learn about the concept that what you are discussing about, so that that change can happen, that can make a difference to the way of life of the people now in these marginalized areas. So many kampung would disappear if nothing is done to protect and preserve their existence and allow their inhabitants to live without, about their peaceful lives. So I was informed that this initiative undertaken by Mizan Research Center, which is established only this year, May 2016, aims now to disseminate information regarding Mizan in every aspect of human life, and is an effort to preserve the kampung way of life. And by that it means to preserve values, customs and traditions upheld by the kampung people, are something that we should preserve in order not to lose ourselves in the urban chaotic lifestyle that we live today. And that brings me to the nasi lemak problem that you talk about and just now, and about how now we need to see nasi lemak and eat the old way and not the modified way. And you're touching base on two of my favorite food here, nasi lemak and teh tarik, and now I have to drink this with palm sugar. Okay, so what else will you be telling me next? So actually, at the end of the day, you're taking the fun out of life. But anyway, if we have to move forward, it has to be done. It has to be done. Although I do believe in preserving my body weight, I think there is a need also to bring it down a little. So maybe with this sustainable approach of taking food in a balanced manner with exercise and whatnot, things, and going back to the lifestyle of the kampung may be a better one for us in the long run. Maybe even Tan Sri also need some help there. Okay, so the kampung, as Ahmad Killer had mentioned, is the glorious example of Mizan and the importance of capturing the knowledge contained in the kampung from the older generation that grew up in the kampung environment, therefore cannot be overstated. And I'd like to thank Bank Rakyat, for actually seeing the way forward in this. It's sometimes corporate sectors, when they come in, they have their own way of thinking, but this is important, I think, and I thank Datuk Rahman for this public-private partnership that definitely, hopefully, will help the Ummah in the future. So with that, please give a hand for Bank Rakyat. So ladies and gentlemen, in order to bridge these noble values and the training of leaders, the research team basically at MRC organizes the workshops, seminars, and conferences to inquire pertinent questions such as where we come from, who we are, and through different levels of narration, unveil the abstract concept of kampung as embedded in our subconscious. And this intellectual exercise is fundamental in ensuring that the mental framework of the leader as an agent of change is capable of embracing values that are close to our hearts, which will stand immutable despite the passage of time. So the new leaders in the Gen X, in the Gen Y, and the Gen Z, they are dynamic, flexible. As I see around me, mainly traditionalists and baby boomers are in this room. Except for me, I'm 29, so I happen to be the Gen X. Most of us in the room have got to touch base with the new way and the new thinking and the new lifestyle of the Gen Z. So if you now want to make this change, it's got to be able to be translated in a manner that is acceptable to them. Then only we can move. Because if we think in our framework and you try to create that change, it will not be getting the buy-in from the Gen Z. So there is a lot of learning, unlearning, and relearning that need to be done before this can take off in a big way. But it's good that we start somewhere. And basically in higher education, whatever I had learned at USIM in the integration of Nakli Akli is now translated into the higher education blueprint, in the sense that the core of the blueprint for higher education now is the development of learned, values-driven talent. We in the blueprint no longer use the word human capital because we do not see the students as a commodity. If you see the students as a commodity, then every walking student to you, you see him or her as possible tuition fees. There is walking money coming into the gates of the university. And you have forgotten what then is the core business of the university. And the core business of the university is to nurture and shape the minds of the future. But to be able now to put in the knowledge, to give them the technology, to allow them now to put these two together to create innovations that will now provide solutions to the needs of the community, or the industry, or the government in the form of the quadruple helix. So this is important, that this essence is placed as the core of the blueprint. And that is why the word balance, in shift 1, we have 10 shifts in order, or 10 ways to move the higher education landscape. And shift 1, which is the most important, is the creation of entrepreneurial, knowledgeable, entrepreneurial, yet balanced graduate. Holistic, entrepreneurial, and balanced graduate. So the word balance is already there in the blueprint. And if now USIM wants to move forward with this, after the discussion, the conference, and it's now translated into a possible model in terms of a curriculum that is now going to develop this balanced individual, then I think then this is something that is very much a leader in this aspect. And I congratulate USIM for wanting to do this and making it happen, right? And at the same time, we realize that if you want to create this balanced individual, this balance between character and knowledge, at the same time being able to move and be able to compete in the 21st century, it does require a lot of experiential learning. So this experiential learning that the student is now going through in terms of outreach programs can now be going back to the kampung and actually now be able to see how the kampung folks are living, not only in Malaysia, kampung in different countries. Because if you want to create a global player, then this person now must be exposed to different customs, different traditions, different culture, because all this, in a way, is very important to build that human being, right? So at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, we need to move to flexible education, because we cannot now have the same way of doing things to now be able to train the future generation. And that's why we are moving now to flexible education, whereby the student can be in one university, taking one matter, a subject matter, and then moving to the next university for another subject matter, taking gap year, and this gap year can be where they start to do the experiential learning, all right? They can go to the soup kitchen in Calais, for example, and be able now to learn both French and Arabic, because when they're serving the people, they have to know the language. How else can they communicate? And this point in time is not just about Malay and English. Now it's about French, Malay, English, French, and Arabic. So we are talking now about 4 languages instead of 2, right? And be able to see the different culture. And why not also spend time for national service, so that you understand what it needs to be patriotic. It's not enough just to celebrate patriotism without having the feel for it. You know, so this is something that we want to inculcate, and finally coming back to the university to be able now to finally graduate. Well, that is if tomorrow the university degree is worth anything. Maybe tomorrow we no longer need university degree, because at the end of it all, today when we have all these potential employers now talking, at the end of the day nobody question about the content of what we are now delivering the student. At the end of the day, it's now about the student coming in for a job interview. What kind of character, attitude, aptitude does the student have? Is a student able to show problem-solving skills? Is the student showing the kind of ethics and integrity that you would want in your establishment? So at the end of the day, it's about the student. And what exactly have you now put into what the education of the student about? So this is hoping that Malaysia will now be able to move in that direction Of course, we have to deal with the qualification framework, the learning outcomes of all this, but if there's a will, there is a way. And this will is coming now from the ministry to make sure that this happens, because we cannot be doing this in the same old way of doing things. So this is where I say that the Kampung Mizan approach, as I said to Tan Sri, let's not just have an intellectual exercise. Can it now be demonstrated? And is it going to happen in a kampung that you can see live action, so that at the end of the day, like I said, to stop all skeptics, they must be able to see by example that this thing is happening. And to quote Dato' Musa, hopefully he prays that this can be done in USIM. Well, I would like to see, and we pray that the students graduating from USIM have that kind of attitude, aptitude, character that we are now looking at the same time, having knowledge. And that is the essence of Professor Zulkifli to the challenge of a TNCA to now be able to move that particular aspect of the curriculum. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. I think we all need to work together to move these particular issues. So on that note, on behalf of the Ministry of Higher Education, I would like to express my deepest appreciation and gratitude to all the speakers and delegates that are here today. And I would also like to extend my sincere thanks to the organizing committee for all their efforts in making this conference a success. And with the kalimah Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and with great pleasure, I hereby officiate the International Conference on Kampung Mizan USIM-BANK RAKYAT. And before I leave the podium, I would like to remind all USIM or all USIMians, hashtag syukur selalu in whatever you do. Sekian. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Dr. Asma Ismail, for the official speech. Distinguished guests and delegates, now may I invite Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak, Datuk Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim, and Professor Datuk Dr. Musa Ahmad to accompany Professor Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail for the virtual launch of Mizan Research Center. Please welcome. Please welcome Dato' Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim to cut the ribbon, witnessed by Professor Dato' Dr. Asma Ismail and all the VIPs. Dr. Asma Ismail for the signing of the letter of intent to create the USIM International School. USIM will be represented by Professor Dr. Musa Ahmad, while USIM International School will be represented by Haji Saleh Zhang Xuan, Nilai Infinity, Capital Sdn Bhd. Thank you very much. To convey our gratitude and appreciation on this auspicious and memorable event, may I invite Professor Dr. Musa Ahmad to present a token of appreciation. Please welcome Haji Saleh Zanshuan. As a return, Haji Saleh Zanshuan also will present a token of appreciation to the Vice Chancellor. Okay, next, USIM-BANK RAKYAT. Please welcome Dato' Haji Abdul Rahman Kasim. Okay, now may I invite Professor Tan Sri Datuk Zulkifli Abdul Razak accompanied by Professor Dr. Musa Ahmad to present a token of appreciation to Professor Dr. Asma Ismail. Please welcome Datuk.
For your information, the khot presented by Haji Saleh and Dato' Asma was a handmade khot by one of USIM's alumni. The Chinese calligraphy presented to Dato' Vice Chancellor is the last sermon by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The khot calligraphy presented to Dato' Rahman was written by an imam from China. This brings us to the end of the official opening ceremony. Let's have a tea break now. Our next item is a discussion at 5 p.m. See you shortly. Thank you.
Betul,